Hello, everybody, and welcome to our continued G1 coverage. I am John Pollock alongside Wai Ting. And as Eddie Kingston said during his post-match promo, how many shows do we have left? 2, 3, or 4? 4 shows to go. That is what we have remaining on the G1 schedule. Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and the finals on Sunday. The Final Four, Wai.
The Final Four. This is it. I mean, one more proper set of block matches, and then it's the playoffs.
It's the playoffs on Thursday, and then, yes, we get the semifinals Saturday, finals on Sunday. So we are at the end of the road, and another G1 will be in the books, but we are going to be focusing on Block C today.
Semifinals on Thursday, Saturday, correct?
Oh, is that how it's broken up? I actually don't know. I think it's all the semifinals would be the Final Four. I assume those would be, it's the quarterfinals on Thursday, semifinals Saturday, finals on Sunday.
Right. Yes. Okay.
So yes, we will have a complete playoff picture after Wednesday's show. So for those on the cafe, this week's schedule, we will have Davey Portman and Karen Peterson coming at you on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, Wai and I are back, as well as Saturday's show, the two of us. And then Wai bids us farewell because, spoiler, he's going to be eliminated in the Final Four. And then Sunday, it's a 3-way tie with John Pollock, W.H. Park, and Karen Peterson for G1 supremacy.
Yeah, it's actually Oscar's first birthday on Sunday, so that's why I'm
what an excuse.
I know. It's actually my anniversary today as well. So
today?
Yeah, so I'm already sacrificing this morning, so it's okay.
Is this why you were 5 minutes late today?
I mean, partially. I had a bit of a busy morning, just kind of, getting flowers and such. So, this is about as much as I'm able to sacrifice this week.
Oh, Wai, I feel bad now. You could have just thrown this at me if you had wanted to. Well, happy anniversary.
Thank you. The C block finals, I would say, are almost just as important as my anniversary.
True. As I've told you privately, my favorite wedding I've ever attended. Yours,
that's awesome.
And your fiance. As I watched her go from fiance to wife, like a metamorphosis right in front of my eyes.
I mean, you delivered a great speech and dropped a huge surprise with that post profile in front of a live audience. So thank you for being a part of it.
Wild. This has been 2 years, man. You really did line up your key dates all together. Like, you're never going to forget your anniversary and Oscar's birthday. It's all like compact in this month of August in the same week.
And the G1 as well. That's really why I scheduled
I could argue you didn't plan this out perfectly well, but close enough. I mean, maybe if it was a week later, that would have been key Wai. That could have been it. You could have just had G1 out of the way.
Yeah, that's true.
A memorable week. Well, today they were at Yokohama Budokan in front of 2,360. And Wai, are we going to go through all the undercard tag matches that you watched?
I'll stay here and listen if you want to.
We are not, but I will, for the sake of transparency, we'll read the results here of what led into the Block C matches. So on Tuesday's show, we had Jeff Cobb and the Great Okan beating Kaito Kiyomiya and Ryohei Oiwa. Alex Coughlin, Gabe Kidd taking on Toru Yano and Tomoaki Honma, with the War Dogs prevailing. Minoru Suzuki, El Desperado, and Ren Narita beating Shota Umino, Hikuleo, and Jado. Hiroki Goto, Yo, and Oscar Loibe over Zack Sabre Jr., Shane Haste, and Kosei Fujita, the TMDK unit. And then Tetsuya Naito, Yota Tsuji, and Bushi beating Hiroshi Tanahashi, Togi Makabe, and Master Wato, with a sampler of Naito and Tanahashi's latest singles match that will be featured on Wednesday's card to determine who is advancing in the D block. But yes, we are back to a full-fledged G1 cards with undercard tags, and it just gives you that extra oomph Wai when you click onto the file and it's 3 hours and 15 minutes and you get to go to the mid part and it's like there's best. 90 minutes gone.
I really
honestly, no offense to these guys, but I'm not watching more tags than I need to.
Well, just like, I mean, it's nice to have it obviously for the live audience that's there, but it's also, nice for people that somehow just need more content. But it's also nice for the people that are watching every single match on this of this entire tournament to have the option of, only focusing on 4 relevant matches. I guess not even 4 relevant matches on this particular show, but it did really make me miss the 4-match format. And I might be a bit of that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people that might prefer the 8-match format as well. But so Tetsuya Naito was in the building, huh?
He was in the building, yeah, but he was
Interesting.
But
Okay.
he's busy because down the road he's got a match with Hiroshi Tanahashi, and he couldn't come out, much like Chad Gable on Wednesday night. The man's busy. Okay, he just worked.
Gable did come out eventually, did he not?
Yeah, he did eventually. Well, he's a better teammate.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we could say the same about like Yota Tsuji. He was in that same match and came out. But Naito's got to focus. Naito's still in this thing. He can't be getting injured the night before.
Right. Okay.
Well, let's jump into things. So, of the 4 matches, 3 had impact onto who would advance, and then this is just a throwaway match. Although they certainly did not wrestle it like a throwaway match. That was Mikey Nichols and Tomohiro Ishii, and Ishii has the least amount of points of anyone going into this final round robin match at 2, while Mikey Nichols at 4 points, but also a busted up forehead. That was his storyline throughout this.
The Achilles
G1.
forehead.
The Achilles forehead. Yeah. Smashing your head open hard way in your opening match and then just keeping yourself together through God knows what for the month. That was Mikey Nichols' story. And now he's off back to Perth and his ranch in Australia that he runs.
Well, that's an interesting way of balancing a pro wrestling career, running a ranch.
What's the G1 when you've got a ranch at home? So I don't think Tomohiro Ishii runs a ranch. Could you imagine?
Oh, not
like
to our
cowboy
knowledge.
hat and just keeping all the bulls.
He'd be a good rancher. He'd be a good I guess farmer. If you run a ranch, is that what you do?
This would have been his American gimmick if he came over in like the 80s. Farmer Tom.
Yeah, I'd love to see what that would have resulted in.
Wrestles in overalls.
Yeah. What would I don't know. How would you have packaged Tomohiro Ishii in the 80s and in the territories?
Okay, what would have been the elevator pitch that Vince McMahon would walk away with? I mean, I think he'd have an affinity for the Stone Pitbull. It's a Pitbull.
Could. Yeah,
he would be Butch.
Yeah, I think he'd possibly be a Shorty T. That's always on the table. Like, he would definitely be a member of like Alpha Academy. Like, he would be Otis, I think.
Maybe he'd be a rapper and he'd just go by the initials TI.
That might be legally troubling, but
no,
I could see like them starting a Tomohiro Ishii Maxine relationship.
Max Ishii,
yeah. Like Ishii doing the Caterpillar, I think is a perfect fit for him.
What we're saying is he made a good career choice staying here.
Well, we never know. We never know what could have happened.
Well, according to Chris Sampson, Ishii, he's not joining the Kiss My Ass Club. Instead, he's joining the 24-hour club of men that have spent a full day in G1 matches. And he joins the likes of Naito, Tanahashi, Tenzan, Goto, Okada, and Yuji Nagata. And throughout this match, the story that Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton are telling is with Ishii with only 2 points. Is it possible this could be his last G1? You need to win to not be on the bubble. And I think every year that's going to be the question of what year is Ishii, not even if you can physically keep up, but I would think with the 32-man format, I would have a hard time imagining they couldn't find a spot for Ishii under this format of if the guy's willing to continue.
First of all, have they actually respected that? Like, I don't know if it's a rule or if it's just sort of like an unsaid thing where like if somebody actually goes winless, they're out of the G1 next year. And have people really gone winless all that often in G1?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The last one was maybe Honma. That year he was a replacement for
I'm guessing he didn't come back.
He did come back. So I don't think it's a rule that is enforced. And I mean, he won. He's got 2 here by the end of this, but they went pretty hard in this match. There were these big. Ishii got dropped by this gigantic slap, and then it's Ishii spiking him with a DDT, and Ishii is the one who gets spiked, and he's like clutching his neck as he gets pinned, And they mentioned that Nichols is dealing with bursitis in his elbow, as it's all bandaged up here.
Is that like what Sami Zayn had?
Similar, yeah, like a bursa sac issue. I'm imagining his like we couldn't see his exposed elbow here, but probably some gnarliness to that elbow. I'm sure that he's working through here, so that's going to affect his ranching.
Possibly, yes.
Don't want to have like a rancher's elbow when you go back home. There's a Death Valley driver into a sliding D by Nichols, and the crowd is into this. There's an Enziguri by Ishii. Both men go down, and then Nichols lifts him up for the Master Blaster, which I'm just always going to be frightened about now after the Henare Master Blaster that he took. Moonsault off the top by Nichols. He's gearing for these 6 points. Doesn't have a shot of moving on, but nonetheless going all out here. Ishii then fires back, headbutt. Nichols is busted open here from his favorite wound on his forehead and takes the vertical drop brainbuster. 13 minutes, 1 second. Both men end at 2-4 records with 4 points. But I thought this was a pretty strong match. It just had no stakes attached to it, unlike the other 3 that we're going to talk about.
Right. Yeah. Maybe on the ranch hole, you can find some stakes.
Oh yeah. The cows produce steaks.
That's it. Yes. I thought it was a really great match. I think every Ishii G1 match offers a very similar style, and it's for that reason very hard for me to see them not including him next year or really any year, as long as he's physically capable, because he kind of brings you that quintessential G1 strong style that I think everybody expects. But what's novel about the matches, despite them all being, I think, relatively similar in like format, is you get to see how each of his challenger matches up. And I thought Nichols was great here. He really kind of like, much like Henare, seemed to take an approach to this year's G1 as like, I'm going to wrestle a New Japan strong style type of G1. And this was maybe the climax of the climax. He gave it everything he had in this match. Not sure at this point if it's just great selling or if he's actually really banged up. Probably a combination of both, but he definitely looked like he was a wrestler at the end of a month-long G1 tour. Just here pretty much on empty the whole match and just completely emptying whatever he had remaining in that gas tank in one big final effort against arguably the best wrestler in the block. And I thought he looked great. And Ishii, what can you say? Like, great, simple, believable selling of that neck. And I think what he really excels at compared to maybe more novice wrestlers is that he never over exaggerates an injury. It's as simple as like completely quiet and just clutching, but like completely believable and realistic as well. So just the right subtlety. I thought it was a very enjoyable match. XL, 1 cream.
Yes, I went basically, yeah, I went XL with a milk and a sugar, Canadian milk.
As opposed to American milk?
Yeah, because it's non-existent. So
it does exist. They don't include it as part of like the coffee sort of like condiment. You gotta just ask for a whole carton of milk, basically.
Yes, I have also come up with my rating system for next year that I will debut.
You're changing?
I might
can't do that.
I might shift.
What?
I was going to throw it out of left field here, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to hold on to it.
Well, I'm not waiting a whole year to hear this, so can you at least give us a hint?
I just did, actually.
What?
I speak in code now. Let's move on to Tama Tonga and Aaron Henare. And we've got Tama Tonga is coming in with 7 points, Aaron Henare with 4. So Henare is out. I repeat, Henare is out of this tournament. And Tama Tonga, he can basically, if him and Shingo Takagi win their respective matches, they would be tied. And because they wrestled to a draw, they would both be in a playoff scenario. But if either loses or draws their opponent, they're out. So that's the scenario here, and not a crazy option that they could have gone with a fifth match on this, or fifth tournament match on this show. But regardless, they went 14.5 minutes, and Henare bends down the corner pad to expose the top buckle. And Kevin Kelly, who has seen this turnbuckle padding removed probably 5,000 times, he notes he's never seen it done this way. So a first in a New Japan ring. Henare hits a step-up knee that sends Tama to the floor and then blasts him with this PK, hits a berserker bomb, and then it's Tama catching him with the Veleno, a Tongan twist and Supreme Flow for a 2 count. And Chris Charlton notes that Yokohama they respect both men so much. It's hard for them to get behind one of them, as this crowd is pretty much sitting on their hands. It's
I think Ronda and Shayna was a similar reaction.
Oh, they didn't know who to cheer away. They were they were engrossed.
Too much respect
with what they were seeing.
Yeah.
Full Nelson gets broken, and Tama hits a stun gun or a gun stun, but he cannot go for the cover. So Henare's landing there, and Henare makes his comeback with a rampage. Streets of Rage is blocked and gets drilled with a right hand that they note catches him right on the button. And Tama continues with a J Driller, winning it in 14 minutes and 29 seconds. So Tama Tonga has done his part. Now Shingo needs to do his part in order for that tie to be achieved. Because if Shingo loses his match, then Tama Tonga gets eliminated. It's only Shingo that can keep him alive.
Yeah. I thought it was a fine match. I don't know if it'll be one that'll necessarily be remembered so much in either man's run. I thought it was more on the standard side of things here, with like little action that kind of felt actually memorable. I would say some. Like it was fine, but I felt like it was more done just to kind of like set up the very interesting point.
It didn't feel dramatic. It didn't reach a higher level. And I've got to say, for the second year in a row, I can't say that Aaron Henare had a breakout G1.
Really? You wouldn't say that?
Yeah, I wouldn't for this year. I think he had an excellent match with Shingo Takagi. And part of that
Nichols, despite like what you and I might think of it, I think it's a memorable match for a lot of people. Just for those big spots, and also just I think the intensity of it.
I look at least I think to really put your stamp on things, it's a combination of your performances are through the roof, and also the booking has to be there too. That gives you a signal of where this guy is going. And I don't know if he comes out of this, he's got 4 points. I mean, Hikuleo is to me someone that was positioned much stronger to kind of break out in this tournament. I don't really sense that with Henare.
I might just disagree. I'll preface it by saying I haven't seen every single Aaron Henare match, but like from what I have seen and from what I've been sort of like sensing from other reviewers that are out there, it's that like he has overcome, I think, maybe just falling into the pack and not making that big of an impression. I mean, combined with I think some publicity surrounding the tattoo, and just I think a renewed sort of like vigor of like going hard in every single match of his has, I think, elevated him to sort of that next level in my eyes. It's including the end of the match here where he kind of got that solo spotlight as the crowd almost like gave him, a bit of that standing ovation type of reaction as he left the arena despite losing the match.
Yeah, I'm looking at my own ratings here. Like, he also had an excellent match with Tomohiro Ishii a few days ago. Like, his match quality was very good as I'm going through this. I guess I'm more, the jury's just out on me with if this is going to propel him to another level. But what I loved about this was, as the camera's on him, as Wei is mentioning, he goes ringside and grabs the score sheet, and he's looking at it almost like in disbelief of like what the result was. And it's like, he was out coming into this match. This was not a this was not a nail biter or something where we had to quickly get out our calculators. Like, win or lose, you were out of this thing. So I don't know what the shock was when he grabbed the score sheet.
I often wonder how aware the participants are of even the points, as much as like, maybe nerds like you or I, or even the fans,
Eddie Kingston thought he had two shows left and was told, no, it's actually double that. Like, he didn't even know how many shows remain on this tour that he's got matches on this week.
I don't think like some of them probably just don't even give a shit about what the points are. And you know what? Like, maybe in a storyline sense, maybe in his mind, he wanted to at least finish with 6 points. And this was him checking, how many points do I have in total? Did I fall short of my personal goal? And it looked like he was disappointed in himself.
Well, he finishes with 4 points. And again, Tama Tonga with 9 points. And afterwards, both men did their interviews in the back. And for Aaron Henare, his big promo was on Eddie Kingston about how do you feel you represent Japanese pro wrestling when you never went through the dojo? Were you training in Muay Thai and kickboxing like I was and coming up in that system? What gives you the right to believe you represent Japanese pro wrestling? It was a very good promo from Henare.
I love it. What wonderful stakes. So you think they're setting up a singles match for what?
The open weight title. The strong
on what show?
It could be any number of them. I don't know if we're going to see Kingston.
You mean sorry, is that do they call that an open weight championship? The New Japan
Kingston
Strong?
Is the strong open weight champion.
Oh, right, okay.
They do call it
sorry.
that.
Yeah. On what show you think? They might do
I don't know if that's as big a match in the US. And I just question when Eddie Kingston is going to go back to Japan. Just after finishing this tour, like
I wonder if, but have they released? They haven't released the card for the final, obviously. But could it be a match that'll take place there?
that's not crazy. It's not typical that they put like a singles title match on the last day, but they could at least set it up in a tag. I would think like it's possible. It's possible they could do something Saturday and Sunday. They need full undercard matches. So possible.
I like the story, you know, like I think the idea of like, we'll talk about Eddie Kingston in the next match, but I mean, I think it's like, it's a really juicy sort of way to attack Eddie Kingston by, you know, criticizing his true sort of like devotion to, or at least like how deserving he is of like, you know, being considered any sort of representative of Japanese wrestling. Anyway, I went large 1 cream for this match.
I went large with a milk and some Splenda. Not quite sugar, but it gives you a bit of a jolt. Eddie Kingston against David Finlay. So this is an important one. Both men with 8 points. So if one of them wins, they are off into the playoff round.
Before we talk about the match, did you see Eddie Kingston meet Toshiaki Kawada?
Yes. New Japan World did this kind of feature on Eddie Kingston where it sounded like the premise was they were taking him out for a drive and they're interviewing him in the car. And it sounds like it's a surprise where they're taking him and arrive at Toshiaki Kawada's ramen noodle bar. And they just park the car and Eddie Kingston is looking. And then you have him react like, oh my God. And he is suddenly a 10-year-old kid. And he is so nervous. He's stating about meeting his hero. And he just sits there. He's like, I can't get the smile off my face. And they bring him in and he does this interview with Kawada. And dude, it is amazing. Like he's pulling up like, oh man, June 1994. And then he's asking about the Tokyo Dome with Masawa. And dude,
look at this smile.
This smile is the most genuine thing you will see today. Kawada was like, you know, he was happy to meet this guy, but nowhere near the level. Respectfully, I don't think Kawada knew who this guy was, but Eddie Kingston certainly knew who he was, and he was in awe of meeting Toshiaki Kawada. Watch this video. It's an amazing 15 minutes, and it will definitely endear you to Eddie Kingston, if not already, that this guy, God. The summer of Eddie continues, and I really hope we can get him on at some point just to chat about this tour.
Oh, I'm sure WH, you know, is putting in a request immediately just to maybe even review this interaction. I mean, Eddie Kingston is probably the most relatable professional wrestler, for certainly to me within AEW, maybe even within all of North American professional wrestling, and to experience this tour of Japan through his eyes, just, you know, starting from that like match in Corku and just throughout this entire G1, and then almost feeling like culminating with this face-to-face meeting with one of his idols, the person that inspired the colors of his, you know, outfit and so much.
Which he told him, he was like, I wear your colors out of respect. And it's amazing. Like I don't. It was hard to get a read off of Kawada. Kawada is a very stoic figure. But
I thought it was perfect. Listen, he was like Kingston was literally meeting a god. Like he entered heaven to meet one of the 4 pillars, and I think Kawada played it exactly. Even if he knew who Eddie Kingston was, I feel like if I was Kawada, I would have known like just to kind of maintain this incredible illusion. I wonder if he had
when you saw the close up of Eddie Kingston eating the curry ramen. Be honest, do you think I made a mistake not going to this when we were in Japan? Because this was on 100%. Our to-do list with WH, and then we opted. It was just so far out of the city that we opted not to do it. I kind of regret not going to this ramen noodle bar.
Yeah, I haven't been either, but you know what? We need something to go to for the next one, right? Okay. So
this one's on the list for next time. I would like to go here. It looks like a nice establishment. It was look at that. They even have a fan there, which they could have used at Harpo's.
Sure, you very much need that fan.
Yeah, he was noting how hot it was. I mean, just man, the heat. I don't want to
look at Kawada full of sweat. I mean, is he the one making the ramen himself?
Oh, dude, I'm sure he's not a figurehead. He's in the kitchen bar. He's probably speed up this interview. I got the nighttime orders to get to.
Yeah, well, maybe next time, John. If we ever
this is a great video. I think you can watch the whole thing on YouTube. I don't think you even have to have New Japan World to watch this. So there you have it. Eddie Kingston against David Finlay. Kevin Kelly explains that Eddie Kingston is fighting on behalf of all tape traders out there. So this is you're living vicariously in this tournament, the tape traders. Finlay is working the back throughout most of the match, and then it's Kingston finally firing back with chops, and they note how he's got all these influences in his back pocket that he can draw from studying them all. And Kingston is selling like he's concussed after David rams him into the post on the floor, and the announcers are yelling for him to stay down, but he gets in at 19. And this guy, man, you talk about maximizing the most out of every maneuver. It's Eddie Kingston that he just squeezes the most out of every little thing to convey that to the audience, like trying to get the audience to feel what he is, and he is tremendous at it. Finlay stops a series of Northern Lights bombs before Kingston finally hits one. And then it's delayed as he goes for the cover, and Finlay gets his foot on the rope. Kingston lifts him up, and it's an into oblivion out of nowhere. But this time it's Finlay who's down and can't go for the pin. They stagger up, and they're just unloading everything they have left. Finlay hits a spear and then hits into oblivion, winning the match in 16:35, and the Eddie Kingston G1 adventure comes to a close as he finishes with 8 points. David Finlay advances with 10, and after this match, Finlay lifts up not only his own never openweight title, he grabs Kingston's strong openweight title and then just throws the strong title down in disgust. And so Eddie Kingston has about 85 matches coming out of this. He wants to have time with Takagi on All In or All Out. He's got Aaron Henare coming for him. He's got David Finlay.
Seems like he just wants to repeat his entire C block matchups, huh? I mean, there's a whole roster of other wrestlers he didn't get to face in this one. So, you know, I guess they paired him up with a good selection here.
And he also lost to he lost to Evil, and he lost to Ishii. So those are all potential matches you could see at some point, given he's does hold a championship. But I thought a very good match here. It was the outcome I expected with David Finlay advancing. And I didn't think this was the match of the show, but this was this was my number 2 match of the show.
What was your?
I thought Ishii and Nichols was the best match on this card.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It edged out this one for me.
I thought that this was up there in a very sort of like different way. You know, Ishii Nichols was, you know, more of your quintessential like hard hitting New Japan G1 style match. This I thought had elements of that, but I think for me what was most connective about this was Eddie Kingston. I thought they were both really good here, but especially Kingston, and I think his ability to convince you that he's hurt through, I think, a really effective wince. He's got a wonderful wince, you know, where you just kind of can feel it. Great selling of his lower back throughout. I think, again, like people in North America have been well aware of Eddie Kingston's status as like possibly the most relatable wrestler in certainly AEW, maybe beyond. Primarily, I would say, though, off the strength of his promos. And I thought here it was really nice to see at the end of this G1 that same sort of connection that this audience seemed to have with him, even without the benefit of being able to hear him speak in their native tongue, if at all. I think just simply through his wrestling, he's been maybe through a bit of storytelling, just kind of like, you know, like the video and whatnot. Fans have seemingly gravitated towards him, and I almost feel like it's like the whole tape trader like aspect of him, I think, is very much a relevant part of his story, because he's a guy who has essentially learned the Japanese style through tapes rather than, you know, being brought up in the dojo. And I felt like
John Jones learned MMA.
Sure. The tape
he did
trader
amateur wrestling, and he just watched tapes.
Tape trader John Jones. Yeah. Also,
he's the John Jones of pro wrestling.
The other representative of tape trading out there, John Jones. Yeah. But, you know, for Eddie Kingston, I think this was almost like, hey, I've crafted my own version of strong style by watching tapes, and I'm bringing it to the audience that actually, you know, has seen the authentic material, and does it pass the shit test? And I felt like in a match like this, you got to see the result was yes. This to me was a great Japanese style match with great fire ups from Eddie Kingston. I think great, again, like sort of emotive, like facial expressions to show pain, to show his sort of like will to come back. And I watched this cooking show like not too long ago, where like there's this Canadian chef who like dedicated his life to making sushi. And in this test, like he had to make sushi for like a Japanese judge, and he ended up winning. And this wasn't like the at last stage of the contest, but like he won this and he started crying because it validated sort of like his lifelong effort of like living up to that foreign standard. And I almost got a similar vibe with like Eddie Kingston through this G1, where him bringing his version of strong style to the birthplace of strong style, I think gained him a whole lot of audience attention and validation. So I was really, really happy for him. I went XL, 1 cream, 1 sugar for this.
I went XL with a milk. Maybe New Japan, depending on how much footage they did shoot of Eddie Kingston, they can turn this around for an extended documentary. Eddie Dreams of Wrestling.
I would watch the shit out of that. Yes.
We go to the main event, and this is to determine what happens with the second person to go through. So essentially, here are our scenarios. It's Shingo Takagi against Evil. Evil has 8 points. So if he wins or draws, he is in with David Finlay. If Shingo Takagi wins, that would create our playoff with Tama Tonga to immediately follow this match, and it would be a no time limit match to determine who would be second place. So Finlay is clinched.
I thought simply the announcement of this was a very significant moment of this match. So in between the matches, you have like, you know, and they do this in the G1s, like where the announcer will actually update the crowd on the point totals and sort of some of the math, just to kind of like get people, because like without listening to commentary, no one's gonna really know, like, you know, who's advancing and how many points and what sort of finishes they need. So they took the time to make the announcement that in the event of Shingo winning, we will have the playoff match right after this, and it just sent the crowd into a frenzy. I thought Chris Charlton's like genuine shock and enthusiasm at this announcement as well greatly lifted sort of my excitement, you know, for a Shingo win coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it has been like years and years since they've had like a play-in match. This is kind of the closest they've really teased it, and was a viable outcome. I think people totally could have bought Shingo and Tama Tonga in this playoff match. So those are the stakes here to close the show. And Evil jumps in before the bell, and he has a razor and is threatening to cut the hair of Shingo. And this goes back to the press conference that I never heard about this until the last day, that Evil apparently at the press conference stated if he doesn't get out of the block, he will shave his head, which I think I think that like that would have heightened Evil's prospects if we were aware of that at the beginning of this, that he's at least going to be a player up until the end and not just have a ho-hum round robin.
But I guess since it's Evil, could we have actually believed him?
He could have lied, yes. My name is Evil after all. So Chris is explaining the problems of booking Evil. They have to take out a row of seats at the front because of safety concerns, and therefore he's costing New Japan revenue. So New Japan's like business being down, it's on this guy. This is a heel in 2023, someone who affects your live gate.
Oh, a real disruptor. Yeah.
Evil teases a chop, instead goes for the eyes. There's a lot of heat here for Evil. Then the House of Torture members join Dick Togo. We've got Yujiro and Sho surrounding the ring, and an exposed portion of the buckle sees Takagi run into it, and then House of Torture gets involved, stomping Takagi on the floor. And then Yujiro grabs the rope, Togo comes in, and Takagi turns the tables off a Magic Killer, and he ends up using Togo to hit the Magic Killer onto Evil. So this is like your Evil match where it's, can the babyface overcome the numbers and prevail? So Takagi is firing back. He hits Last of the Dragon, but then Red Shoes gets yanked out to the floor, and the disqualification is called. No, it does not. Which, if it did, if they had disqualified Evil,
playoff,
he would have gotten a point, wouldn't he?
What? No, disqualification is a straight up like loss for the person.
Right.
Yeah.
So
double count out, he would have gotten a point.
Double count out, he would have gotten the point. But I'm thinking if this had been a no contest. But yeah, so this would have advanced
Shingo.
Yes, this would have advanced Shingo if he wins by disqualification.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not called. So Red Shoes cost Shingo Takagi the turn.
Clearly House of Torture knew who was reffing this match.
Okay.
Not to say like Asami would have called this or anything either.
So Red Shoes is yanked out, but Takagi does not see this. So Dick Togo goes in and counts 3, and the bell rings. And Takagi thinks he's won. And man, did Shingo look like a fool here.
I mean, I'm sorry. I thought this shit was hilarious, and I kind of loved it. Like, I mean, they were in good position where like Shingo wouldn't have seen it. And I think the kicker for me was that not only did Togo count the 1, 2, 3, but you had the bell ring, and then they show afterwards.
Why did it ring?
It was
it
Yujiro. Yujiro with the bell hammer. He was the one who rung it. So like,
That's smart.
They went to the detail of like, making sure that not only did we take out the ref, Yujiro grabbed the bell hammer and ring the bell as well.
Well, listen, I know you think I'm going to like dump on this, and I'm not. So Shingo thinks he's won. House of Torture attacked Takagi. He's choked out by the Garrett, and they think he's going to die in the middle of the ring for how long he's being choked. Then Bushi finally shows up. It's like, oh my God, he doesn't have a pulse. Maybe we should run out and help this guy because we're all in a group together. LIJ are the worst. And Togo then chokes Takagi out. Yujiro uses his stick. Sho then hits, Sho uses a chair right over top of Takagi's head. And then there's the shock arrow and goes for the cover when Hiromu comes out and he yanks the referee out. He attacks Sho. Yujiro's in and ends up taking the mist from Bushi. And Takagi gets back to life and clotheslines Evil and Togo. Yota Tsuji is out with the Orihara moonsault to the floor. And we see Takagi drop Evil as he races against the clock. We have about 3 minutes left. And Evil shoves Red Shoes and then hits a low blow followed by Everything is Evil, and he wins in 17 minutes and 39 seconds. So Evil advances with David Finlay, and because of the tiebreaker, David Finlay finishes in first, Evil finishes in second place. I really did not hate this like the level of most Evil matches. I did hate the ref being pulled out spot, just because it literally changes the outcome of this. And I think that was a
sorry. What do you mean?
What do you mean? DQ.
He would have been DQ'd for any of these actions.
They were able to do most of these behind the ref's back, but where you yank him right out of the ring,
that happens all the time. Even in like North America and like WWE, like that's a valid, way to stop a pinfall. And in most professional wrestling,
you are putting your hands on the referee,
but the ref
yanking
doesn't
him
see
out
who
to stop
did it.
And like that does not constitute a disqualification.
But the ref doesn't see who did it, and if the ref doesn't see who did it,
come on, Wade.
Is this the first time you've watched pro wrestling? I mean, come on. Like it happens. It happened. Like I'm Benoit, Jericho versus Hunter and Austin. That was like one of the big, like.
This has always been a goofy spot, though. This is always a goofy spot that, like, what would constitute a DQ? That aside,
you got upset at that, but you didn't get upset at like I don't know, like Togo choking him out with the Garrett for like a minute.
We've had this conversation about Evil for like 3 years at this point. Are you just waking up to this now? I'm not going to belabor the point every Evil match. Yes, well, I think this is the biggest knock against the Evil stuff.
But I'm just saying, like
this shit.
I'm just saying the ref pulling out spot is like not even like on the top 5 of like worst things that necessarily took place. In either case,
let's just throw disqualifications out of the G1. That would make me a lot happier.
I hate to see like what would be permissible at that point. Like people would
nothing worse than now.
I like it when it's contained to like like just an Evil or I don't know like Kenta or something. Like if only 1 or 2 people have this special ability, I think it's okay. I'm not certainly a fan of like House of Torture sort of actions, but with the right stakes, I think in this situation it was really effective, and that to me was like the difference maker.
This was the peak of like the Evil bullshit, but it's to build to what I feel is going to be one of the baby faces prevailing over. Like Evil isn't winning the G1. I think we can all feel very comfortable in that outcome, that Evil's going to get his comeuppance in the playoffs. And the time to thwart Evil and overcome him was not on the final day of the round robin. It's going to be in the round of 8. Yeah, probably not the round of 4. He's facing Sonata as well. So if there's someone that's going to stop Evil, his former partner makes as much sense. Unless they get really ballsy and Evil wins to set up a title match later this year with Sonata. I guess
I'm curious to know if Evil could possibly meet Naito in the, I guess it would be either the semi or the finals.
Let's actually look at the brackets here. So Sonata and Evil would face the winner of, if Naito finished in second place, he could meet Sonata or Evil in the semifinals. And if Naito won the D block, then they couldn't meet until the final.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're all kind of interesting situations, but I think I agree with you. Like, this was very much, I think, a setup match for, one of those great playoff results. And beyond that, I even just enjoyed it as a match on its own. Like, maybe part of it for me was that I watched this with the result already spoiled, so I kind of knew the outcome. I kind of knew to expect all this bullshit anyway. But I think that might have
notifications off from WH.
That's right. I think it might have been a bit of a blessing in disguise, because I was able to just enjoy this for, I think, what they were trying to go for, and that was to excite the crowd first of all, and then to deflate the crowd, which to me is the point of most of these Evil House of Torture matches.
I think a lot of this crowd believed Shingo was winning and they would actually do the playoff. Like, I don't think they were out on a limb here. I thought they saw that as a very viable outcome. So when you pull the rug out from them, it's deflating on this night, but it's to serve a purpose of another babyface overcoming Evil.
And again, I think the announcement of the possible playoff, like, it drove this crowd already to a frenzy, because they wanted to see that extra match. They really wanted to see
it's like they've thought it out. They have the scenario laid out. It's easy to comprehend, and it's very believable.
Yeah, it made him a really hot babyface throughout this entire match. And I think the interferences at this point, again, with House of Torture, you know what to expect. To me, I feel like Togo coming in and using the Garrett is as much of a signature move for this wrestler as like Shingo using the Made in Japan. And it's all about, at this point, how as a babyface you would thwart it. There were moments that I thought were kind of clever, where like Shingo, in order to stop Evil from doing the thing where he throws like the boot to Red Shoes to assist with, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Where he does the spot where he catches the foot and then throws it to the referee.
Yes.
Shingo tossed the referee aside so that, like, Evil had nobody to throw it to. I mean, stuff like that I thought was pretty clever. I thought it set up a great sort of run-in spot for LIJ, where all three members of LIJ who made the effort to come out to actually save their friend had some great spotlight here. And again, the finish was your typical anticlimactic Evil finish with no build-up whatsoever. Just, great, lifts the guy up, everything is evil, and it's over. And I thought it was done according to exactly what they were looking for, and that was to deflate, to leave this crowd silent. And that might not result in the highest coffee scale rating, but I think it was done for a greater purpose. And for that, I really enjoyed this main event, as a final match of this portion of the G1. I went large, 1 cream, 1 sugar, 1 sleeve.
I had actually the same rating. I'm not going to, this is not XL territory, but I thought this was like a solid large with the necessary additives to it as well. So Evil advances, and that wraps up the C block. So our current playoff picture has Sonata taking on Evil. Okada will face the second place finisher in the D block. David Finlay takes on Will Ospreay, and Hikuleo will take on the winner of the D block on Thursday. And the D block, it comes down to Wednesday's show. So we have Hiroki Goto against Zack Sabre Jr., Jeff Cobb against Shane Haste, Hiroshi Tanahashi against Tetsuya Naito, which is listed as the main event. And then the throwaway match is Alex Coughlin against Toru Yano. So in this block, Zack Sabre Jr., Jeff Cobb, and Tetsuya Naito all have 8 points, and they're all alive going into this. The scenario I see most likely is Shane Haste spoiling Jeff Cobb, and then it comes down to Zack can beat Goto, and Naito can beat Tanahashi. Those two advance, and Naito would be first place based on the tiebreaker, and would face Naito would then face Hikuleo, and Zack Sabre Jr. would face Okada in the playoff. Can you see a scenario where Cobb does advance, or do you lean towards Naito and Zack being the two to move in?
Probably
because Cobb does have tiebreakers against both of them. So if they all three of them won, Cobb, I believe, would advance, and then Naito and Zack, like, it would be Naito advancing. I think that's how it would work. I think.
I'll take your word for it, dude. It's just I'll leave the math to you and Chris Samsa, and Chris Engler.
Well, there you go. That's what's happening on Wednesday, and then the playoffs on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Did you like the 4 matches tonight?
I did. I thought all of them were had their purpose, and I thought Ishii and Nichols, that was my my match of the show.
Yeah, I would actually recommend 3 of the 4. If you're like looking to just maybe get good action, certainly Nichols and Ishii. I would put Eddie Kingston up there in his match with David Finlay as well. But I think for storyline purposes and to just kind of catch up with the G1, I thought the main event was actually pretty relevant.
Okay, well there you go. Those are your recommended matches. Do we want to do the contest?
Let's do it. Yes, again, thank you to Chris Engler for updating these. You can find the results and see your standing currently at postwrestling.com/G1. Again, if you can't find your name as part of the, I guess, featured standings, you can click on the PDFs to download to find your predictions as well as where you rank, both alphabetically and also in terms of I believe points as well. So that's organized that way. All right, let's go to your top listener standings. And I think at this point, John, it's pretty much a close here because Jeremy Finestone continued his winning ways today, widened his first place lead to 4 points, which guarantees that the worst he can do is finish tied for most contest points earned. But there's an outside chance that tiebreakers could still play a factor. All right, so Jeremy Finestone sits atop right now at 77 points all by himself, followed by, in second place, and the person to stand the best chance of matching him at least, is Eric from Cork at 73 points. And then we've got in third place a tie between Big Iron OG and Scots. So it's a race towards the top. Can Jeremy Finestone win it himself, or will there be a tie? In the Daily Perfect Club, a lot of people actually guessed the perfect card tonight, I guess, or perfectly predicted all 4 matches today. And they include Anne-Marie, Big Iron OG, David J, Dr. Bathroom.
Dr. Bathroom. Wow,
yeah,
great day for him.
Maybe the place where he made those picks. Jen F, John Service, McRuber, Marky Mark.
Come on, Optimus Maximus, give him a shout out.
Yeah, Funky Bunch himself, Mick Cooper, Matt BB Byrne, Pro Connor, Randall Bot, 2000.
Whoa.
Getting a perfect 4 out of 4.
He's coming for Way.
Sean Phillips. Yeah, that's not good news for me because, well, let's go to Post Wrestling family block standings. And Brandon Thurston has pulled it out in the lead, 66 points here, sitting at the very top.
Look at that.
Can John Kleinchester catch him?
That's going to be tough. That's going to be really tough. So it just comes down to Wednesday, correct?
I believe so. Yeah. Unless there's a tiebreaker, then we'll find out. John Kleinchester is 2 points behind at 64 points, followed by Brad Copping, the Archivist, John Cena, and Lowdown Davey P, all still in contention at 63 points, tied for third place right now. They're followed by Brandon from New Jersey, who has actually done very well this G1 at 62 points, followed by Braden Harrington, then Eric Marcotte, Bruce Lord. John Pollock sits at 59 points, tied with our man Neil Flanagan. John Pine, W.H. Park.
Man, is Randall Bot ahead of you?
Tied for the very bottom.
Oof.
Randall Bot and Wai Ting, both at 51 points. So, I'll be watching this G1 final D block show with a whole lot of interest, just to try to avoid to the bottom.
Well, look at that. Well, by the time I am joined by Brandon Thurston on Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern time, he may in fact be the victor. So he can be officially awarded the mythical trophy on Pollock and Thurston on Wednesday.
Yeah, we never announced a prize for certainly the E block. So maybe coffee.
I mean, it's bragging rights and momentum together. We send with shipping and handling not included. Well, there you have it. That is the latest. So one more day to go for the contest, and 4 more shows to come here on the Post Wrestling Cafe. Davey Bortman and Karen Peterson will have you covered for Wednesday's D block final matches. Thursday, Way and I are back to go through the round of 8, and then Saturday with the semifinals. Sunday, I'll be joined by WH and Karen. We'll do a whole deep dive on the G1, going through the finals and our closing thoughts on this year's tournament, what worked, what didn't work, and who stood out in the G1. Did Aaron Henare stand out? That'll be the big question on Sunday that we will answer. But thanks to everyone for checking this out. Tonight, Braden and Davey will be live after NXT. And then Wednesday, we've got not just the G1 show, but Rewinded Dynamite, as well as our final run in our reviews of this season of Dark Side of the Ring with the World, according to Marty Jannetty. So we will be live here on the cafe minutes after Rewinded Dynamite for your Wednesday doubleheader. Check out all of the shows. And that's it for us. We will speak with you later this week.